Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Maggie. Today we're going to be closing out a vacation travel budget. My husband and I were in Miami for the Thanksgiving holiday recently, and I want to close out what we actually spent on our trip. I like doing these to just share with you a little bit about our trip, but also to remind myself when I go back to a place or I'm planning another trip in a similar place, what it cost last time so I can budget accordingly the next time. So let's go ahead and dive in. I've already gone through and checked like our credit card statements and got the numbers. So I have my cheat sheet here off to the side. Let's just go one at a time. So the first line item is flights. My budget was $25 because we booked with miles. So the 25 was just for like the, couple of taxes or fees that you can't pay with miles. So this ended up being $23. So I was under budget by $2. So that's great. Then we had the hotel. We stayed at the W in Miami. It was a beautiful hotel. The pool was really nice. It was heated. We had a great time. We booked it with Marriott points. My husband travels for work and usually stays at Marriott, so he gets a lot of points that way. And then we also have a Marriott credit card that we use for our day-to-day spending. We also have a Delta credit card. So when we go on trips, try to either get the flights or the hotel taken care of from those rewards. On this trip, we did both. So that was great. So hotel, I budgeted $400 because there's a nightly like resort fee and there's usually, little tax on that. I was, let's see here. I budgeted $400. I came in at $385. So I was pretty close. So that's great. And that means that I was $15 under budget. Then we have transportation. So I broke this out into two categories. Overall, my budget was $650, which is $150 for parking at the airport and then $500 for Ubers while we were in Miami itself. So the total between the two categories here actually ended up being $569. I'm pretty sure how this broke down was that the parking was actually a little bit more, but the Ubers were less. So that's how that worked out. There was two dinners that we just like walked to that we didn't need to Uber to, which is great. And then we had two that we did Uber there and back. So that definitely helped. And then of course we needed a car to get us from the airport to our hotel, which are the most expensive ones. So anyway, feeling good about that. Then we have food. So I budgeted $2,000. We went over budget on food. So we spent $2,825, which is a big number, but let me explain. So we actually didn't eat much for breakfast. It was usually just like a coffee in the morning. This did include like the drinks and snacks that we had at the pool, but that was also pretty light. I mean, one day we were at the pool all day on Thanksgiving itself, and there we did eat like a proper lunch and whatever, but most of this came from, we went out to eat at some very nice and kind of fancy restaurants. So we went to Joe's Stone Crab. I met up with my friend Gina and her husband. I met Gina through YouTube, go figure, years and years ago when I was in college and living in South Dakota. So anyway, that was fun to meet her finally in person. She happened to be in Miami too. So we went to Joe's, which is very good. We went to a Milo's, which is a Michelin star restaurant for Thanksgiving dinner. So that was, expensive. And we ate just like really nice dinners. And when we eat light during the day, that means we kind of go all out for dinner. So we'll get an appetizer or two. We each get an entree and then we'll get a dessert. So like, I'm just saying we go for it. And that is definitely a highlight of our trip. So we were over what I budgeted, but I'm not that surprised. I should probably just adjust that budget for next time. Okay, for entertainment, I had $1,250 that I had budgeted for, $1,000 for the spa. We did a couples massage, and then $250 for the couples scratch appointment from the Scratcher Girls. So our spa ended up being like $888, I believe, and then the scratching appointment unfortunately had to get canceled. They were traveling back and their flight got canceled. So they emailed me and let me know that I'll be getting a refund because I did pay this $250 in full before we left. So this actually ended up being $888 just for that couples massage. And that includes tip and everything. So I was under budget by about $360 here, which is good because I was over budget by, 8 something there. Okay, then for spending money, this is where we get into my cash wallet. So this is my travel wallet. I stuffed this before we left with some money, and we're going to do a count to see what I have remaining. So for spending money, I have just these little tabs in here. So one's for spending. And I have 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 101 left over. So that means I spent 34. And this was just on like, you know, a coffee here or there when we were out, or if my husband wanted, you know, something while we were out and about, that's what we used it on. We didn't do any Black Friday shopping or anything like that. So that's good. Okay, then we had tips. So again, broke this down. I had 50 for that scratch promo, which didn't happen, and then 100 for other cash tips. And we like to give cash tips like here and there. So let me pull this section out of my wallet. So we like to give cash tips here and there. For example, when we go down to the pool, you like check in and get your towels, and they'll walk you over to your spot. They get it all set up, and I'll give them like a 5 or, you know, a couple of 1s or whatever. And they're always super grateful, and they make sure like, you know, we're taken care of. And so for one day, you know, the sun was out, they preemptively came over and, you know, told us that they were going to move the umbrella for us so that we had better shade, and like they just took care of us. So we do find, you know, it's $5, but we do get very great service no matter where we are when we do that, and kind of tip up front like that. So anyway, we have 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 75, 80, 81, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90, $91 left. So that means I spent 59 in cash tips. And we also leave, you know, a little tip for like the maid service. We don't have our room cleaned while we're there. We just don't like people in and out of our room. So we do leave a tip at the end because it had been all week. I mean, we still like clean up after ourselves, but you know. Okay, then we have airport. I cash stuffed 100, and I did spend out of here. So I have 20, 40, 60, 1, 2, $3 remaining. So that means I spent 37. And this was at the Miami airport coming back home. So we went into the Delta Club because we have access to that. We ate there, but they didn't have the right channels for the football games we wanted to watch. So we left and we went to a like bar or restaurant that had the game on that we wanted to watch. And so we just ordered like a lemonade and like a little meat and cheese board to pick at, because kind of like have to buy something to sit there. So that's what that was. And then miscellaneous, I always bring $100, and I left with, oops, should be the full 100. There we go. Full 100 from there. So we didn't spend that, but we almost did because my husband got some bug bites, and that they were itchy for him. But I ended up having a little thing of like anti-itch, like Benadryl stuff in my travel bag. So we didn't need to buy any more, but now that we are home, I probably will buy another little travel size of that. I just like to have that in my bag because you never know. So that is it. So when I totaled this all up, and again, I'm cheating because I've already done this math, it was $4,820. So I'm $10 over budget, which I actually think is pretty darn good, all things considered. So that is how the Miami trip came out. I have all this cash in my cash tray here, and this is going to go back into my travel or trips envelope that I have, so that I have cash for the next time, because I do like to travel with some cash, again, for kind of like small purchases and whatnot, tips. So I will use this towards whatever our next trip is, and then we will just pay our credit card bill with our savings account that we already, you know, have for our travel and all that. So that is it for this video. I've put in some little clips here along the way, so it maybe feels like you got to see some of our travels with us, but it was just really nice. We kind of did a whole lot of nothing during the day and then ate at night, and I read a book. We sat by the pool. It did rain a little bit, but we were still able to sit outside and get fresh air, you know, when it was covered areas. So yeah, we just had a really good time. It was nice to reset and back at it, back at home and into the routine. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon in my next one. Bye.